Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Welcome to another stocked and loaded episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important hobby news, discussions, debates, opinions, info, and interviews with key hobby and sports dignitaries. Also, if you're good, you know we are going to give away something. Now, here's the guy that wanted the cards more than the gum. John Newman.
Welcome to episode 74 of the Sports Card Nation podcast. Another week of hobby info, interviews, and news. And our interview guest this week is none other than Rob Bertrand from GTS and Go GTS Live. We're going to talk to Rob about current state of the hobby. He's going to break some news, if you will, about some products coming out and good news compared to what we heard initially. So stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about Go GTS and how that all came about. Great conversation with Rob. Rob and me are similar. I hate to, not to compare myself to him as far as length in the hobby, but Rob's time in the social media aspect of the hobby dwarfs mine, and so I was really privileged and honored to have him on the show and break a little bread with him, if you will. And he's a grizzled veteran of what we're doing here, social media wise, and so it was interesting to talk to him. And Rob's a positive force in the hobby, and we're fortunate to have him. We're fortunate to have him on the show today. So stay tuned for that. A great interview. Thanks to Rob. And like I said, some of those delays may not be as long as we initially thought, and he's gonna touch on that during that interview. Some other things I'd like to. One of our sponsors, Star Stock Market, they have launched. They are out. I just actually checked out the website. Very, very clean, very sharp looking. I'm going to be sending them some cards to put on the platform. So be on the lookout for that. But check out starstock.com. Like I said, very clean, and from what I can tell, they're doing pretty well. And like I said, just the beginning for them. So as they gain traction and experience, I expect that platform to do very well. Also, another sponsor shout out, Pastime Marketplace. They're going to get a new line of inventory very soon, and I'll have William come on the show and highlight that and talk about his newest line of graded card cases that are coming out. Also, 101 Card Shop, Steve and family there, still doing breaks, doing quite a bit of them, no shortage there. He's taking consignments and even grading consignments. So Steve's doing a little bit of everything. They do personal breaks as well. SGC is someone I've recently went over to grading wise, and love their cases, love their system, and they're really making moves, like I said numerous times on this show. So shout out to them as well. And Iron Sports Card, Rob, taking care of your PSA grading needs as well, and he does a great job. And you can say what you want, whatever, with PSA, with their backlog and what have you, but that's not Rob's fault. He's a class 1 and does a great job. I just got a submission back that I gave to Rob for PSA. Again, took a while, but again, that's not on Rob, that's on the company itself. And happy with the grades, although one of the cards came back as not adequate size. If you want, check my YouTube video out, Sports Card Nation podcast on YouTube, and save time on the show, check out the YouTube video and weigh in what you think there. So, but great show. Again, Rob Bertrand from Go GTS Live is our guest. And so without further ado, let's not delay any longer. Time for this week's incoming product releases. All right, a short slate of scheduled items. Actually, only two, and I only think you're only going to get one. Let's start with the 29th, 2019-20 Upper Deck Credentials Hockey. Upper Deck uses a different printer, so that should be out with no problem on the 29th, Credentials Hockey. And slated for May 6th, 2019-20 Panini Spectra Basketball. A little bit less likely there with the shutdowns, the Carter Monday, although things in Texas are starting to open up, but I don't think it'll be in time to get Spectras out the door to be delivered by May 6th. So expect a delay with Spectra. So 29th, Credentials Hockey, the 6th, Spectra Basketball tentatively, and then as the month progresses in May, there'll be more products at least scheduled. We'll see how the openings continue to progress.
Sports Card Nation Podcast is your weekly hobby and sports podcast. Now on tons of platforms including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Listened to in 44 different countries globally, Sports Card Nation is one of the most interactive podcasts around, providing great content, giveaways, and some of the hobby's best interview guests without time constraints. Thousands can't be wrong. We want to thank all the wonderful listeners around the world, our awesome guests on the show, and our tremendous sponsors making us what we are today. Remember, without you, there's no us.
It's time for What's Cracking. Well, last week we reported that Panini stated they would not be honoring any expired redemption, and people were not happy about that.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
And apparently Panini heard that, and they've softened their stance. They will try to fulfill even expired redemptions if they can. If they cannot, they will give half the value in Panini points. How they determine that value, I'm not sure, but you'll get half that value in Panini points if they cannot fulfill the original card. So that's better than nothing. It at least shows Panini's listening and out there and getting the feedback. I wish they wouldn't make these decisions in the first place, but at least they're listening to the consumer's feelings and adjusting accordingly. So Derek Jeter said he will forfeit his Miami Marlins salary, but don't cry for him, Argentina. He just signed a new deal with Topps, an exclusive deal, so expect to see more Jeter autographs in upcoming Topps releases and exclusive Jeter stuff, and I'm sure inserts and the like. Anytime they sign a deal with a player, they maximize their potential with that player. Smart on Topps' part. And frankly, he's one of the icons of the sport, even though he's not playing. So, good job by Topps to get someone of Jeter's stature exclusive to them. And speaking of Jeter, unfortunately, the Hall of Fame ceremony, which he's been inducted to, will not take place this year due to the COVID-19. They will move it to next year's induction. And so next year's 2021 induction will have this year's class and whoever's part of the 2021 class. So it'll be one big 2-year induction. Kind of cool. Expect big crowds for that, and we'll see who gets inducted next year. And so, it's nice, though, that the players that got in, Jeter, Larry Walker, and the like, will have their day. They'll just have to wait a year. And that's, hey, you know what, builds up some suspense between now and then as well. Speaking of sports, you saw the NFL draft. It was virtual. I thought it actually went pretty well, considering they didn't have too many glitches. I thought Roger Goodell had a sense of humor with his, expecting to get booed, and he played up to the camera. And I thought he did a pretty good job. It was kind of neat seeing all the draft picks in their living rooms with their families and some of the reactions when they got drafted. And I thought it was well done. So well done, it makes you wonder if maybe we'll see more of that with the draftees that aren't traditionally there in the green room in drafts to come. So I thought it went pretty well, better than I anticipated, and it got very high ratings due to, we're so craving sports right now. Anything sports related, we're consuming at mass quantities, just like the Jordan show, The Last Dance on ESPN. We can't get enough of that. It's affecting his cards. I did a whole segment on Hobby Quick Hits, our short form podcast. Go check that out. My latest episode there is called the Jordan Rules Hobby Edition, and we talk about the effect of that show on the Jordan card market. But, the old debate, who's the GOAT, Jordan and LeBron. Well, if you believe eBay sell prices and what's moving on eBay, there is no debate. It's MJ. He sells at a 500% more clip than LeBron James, and I think that answers the question, at least for me. And again, I'm older, so I'm a Michael Jordan guy, but 500% more Michael Jordan sales than LeBron sales on eBay. The National Sports Collectors Convention has announced that they will make an announcement on May 30th as to whether the show, scheduled for the late part of July and the front part of August, will go on as scheduled. Most people predict it won't. They've also made an offer to any dealers who have tables, which I thought this was very good on their behalf. Any dealers that want to back out of this show with anything going on, even if it does occur, those dealers would not be punished. They will not lose their spot. As a matter of fact, they can roll over their payment for the 2021 event in Chicago. So if you're a dealer who's already paid for your spot in Atlantic City and you don't want to attend, even if it goes on, you can have that spot in Chicago. Really, I thought a really stand-up thing for the National to do. For those that don't know, New Jersey's still under a shelter in place. The convention center at last check was a FEMA COVID-19 rescue for sick people with COVID-19. And so, again, most people don't think it can be pulled off, but we'll know more. Stuff will get clearer on May 30th. So if you follow us on either Twitter or YouTube, you may have seen I've got a PSA submission back that was been there since 2019. Submitted through Iron Sports, one of our sponsors. Rob, again, does a great job. No fault of his. We all know the backlog at PSA, which is major delays, and then the pandemic hit and didn't help matters. And so they've had this order. It's a 10-card order for a while. I just recently got it back. Did fairly well. No complaints on the cards that did get graded. Can't argue with those. One of the cards I sent was a DJ Moore Black Velocity Optic, numbered to 25, and it came back ungraded in the semi-rigid with PSA's sticker saying that it was undersized. So undersized meaning not gradable, either was trimmed or not the adequate size to the normal cards. I have 5 other Black Velocity cards that were here, so I put them up against the DJ Moore. If you check out our YouTube channel at Sports Card Nation Podcast on YouTube, I posted that video. I also posted the link on the Twitter. I put those 5 cards up against the DJ Moore, and they were all the same size. And so I don't know what happened. I don't know what that grader's looking at, what his gauge is to that. But that Black Velocity DJ Moore is the same size as any other card in that optic set. And so I don't understand it. When that happens, if you're familiar with the grading process, you still pay for the grading fee, and you don't get that card graded. It comes back loose in that semi-rigid. So they charged for grading, and they didn't grade it. Now, I understand if that card is shorter or trimmed or altered, right? We all know. Here they are, they get that bad rap for not catching trimmed and altered cards, if you will. And here's a card that is the adequate size. Like I said, check the video, see for yourself. And they come back and say it's inadequate size. So I don't know. I'm gonna be nice. I'm probably biting my tongue a little bit here. Check the video out, see for yourself. It's probably the last submission at this time to PSA. Full disclosure, besides being a sponsor, I do love the strides SGC's made, price-wise, turnaround time, what those cards realize on the secondary market. And so I have a couple submissions into them already. I've gotten one back as well, and I'm going to be sending more stuff their way. They do a really good job. I'll be doing all those unboxings on our YouTube channel, so be on the lookout for those. And like I said, they've been, anything I've submitted, probably 20 days or less, they've come back. And it's nice to have your cards back at that quick a rate. And I love their slabs. I like their new, the way they grade and their label. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I've said I tend, with sponsors of the show, I love to have those I believe in, and I do believe in SGC. So that's where my interests lie, and that's where future submissions are going. And quite frankly, guys, that was even before the DJ Moore incident, if you will. I was already leaning that way, and that just made my decision all the more easier. And speaking of graded cards, if you follow the trends, you'll notice the last 2-3 weeks, cards graded a 9. Traditionally, obviously, we all want 10s and the like, even 9.5s for the grading companies that use those half grades. And it's always, always the bugaboo with 9s is, they're slightly more than raw, or maybe even sometimes the same as raw. But there's been an explosion the last few weeks on graded cards of 9. And, out of nowhere, a Griffey 9, which was like $35, $45 before, now we're going for $150, $175. I think I even seen one bring $200. And obviously 10s went up as well to keep the gap between them. But PSA 9s, SDC 9s, BGS 9s all have went up in the last few weeks. And someone asked me why, because they know I grade a lot. And I got that question offline. So, and I at first, I didn't really get why. But then I kind of thought, and again, this is just my theory or my opinion, but with sports being not being played, and people have more time, a lot of people are home. And if you know anything about unemployment, those that are unemployed are getting more money. It's actually not that you want to be unemployed, but if you're unemployed, you're actually getting more money in most cases than you would at being employed. My wife just got called back to work, and by going back to work, she's actually going to make a little bit less than she was on unemployment when she got laid off, just with some of the bonuses and the like to stimuluses and whatnot. So there's 33, I think at last check, 33 million people unemployed just since the pandemic hit. Many due to the pandemic, obviously. And so discretionary income's still there. We don't have sports to watch on TV. And I think some people in the hobbies who have that discretionary income and the time are seeing an opportunity. Hey, I can buy some of these 9s and maybe crack them open and turn them into 10s. And it's in turn, I think it's driven the prices up of the 9s. People are getting into bidding wars over them, and now there's more people with more time to look at the secondary market and fill those voids, and where now maybe some couldn't justify or afford a 10, they're going to that next tier of those 9s and maybe either buying them to keep or obviously buying them to crack with the hope to turn them into 10s after looking at them. And you got to remember, folks, here, with these refund policies by a lot of these platforms, 60 days, they can buy those 9s, kind of take a look at it. I'm not saying to do this or condoning it. I think it's not right, but I think some of these folks buying these 9s are buying these graded 9s, going to get the card, take a really good look at it through the slab, obviously without cracking it open. And if they think they can make it a 10, they'll keep it and submit it to try to bump it up. Or if they look through the slab and they think it really is a 9 with no hope of an upgrade, they're probably going to file a money back claim that they don't want to complete the transaction, or they're not satisfied with the card, and send them back. And so some of you guys that are selling these graded 9s for these amounts of money, which are head scratching, honestly. I mean, check this stuff out. I mean, first place that hits eBay and type in PSA 9 or SGC 9 or BGS 9 and do completed and sold listings. You'll be surprised what some of these graded cards are bringing. But some of these sellers might be in for a rude awakening when the buyers, after getting those cards and taking a closer look at corners and surface and the like, and determine, hey, this really is probably going to stay a 9 even if I crack it and submit it. I don't want it now. I'm going to file a reversal claim on PayPal, ComC, or wherever other platform that they've purchased these cards from. So some of these sellers, you're excited right now because that 9 you had went for a lot more money than you actually anticipated. But soon enough, those transactions may be getting reversed. And I hope not. As a seller myself, I really hope that's not the case. But, these policies have made it very easy for buyers just to do an about face and reverse the transaction and get their PayPal funds put back in their account. And then therefore a seller has that money taken out of their account. So I hope that it's going to happen. I hope it's few and far between. That's why I think all these PSA and graded 9s are bringing a lot more money lately, is just people have more time to do these sort of things to try to bump up the grades. And it's always happened, but I think now with a lot more downtime, more people are participating in that act. So that's my 2 cents. That's why I think the trend is what it is. It'll be interesting to see if that levels off or continues to go in that direction.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Commence interview sequence.
All right, real excited to have my next guest on the One of One Card Shop guest line. He's a man that really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one just the same. He's the Director of Marketing from GTS, but you probably know him more as half of the dynamic duo of Go GTS Live on Thursday nights, a live hobby podcast that I'm particularly fond of, and I know a lot of you are as well, and I'm happy Rob gave the show a little time and joining us. Welcome to the show, Rob Bertrand.
Well, thanks for having me, John. It's a pleasure.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, one thing we both have in common, we've been in the hobby, if you will, a long time. One thing you definitely have over me, for sure, no doubt, is on the social media side of the hobby. You've been doing this a long time as well. You started with Card Corner Club, and then that went into, everyone knows, Cardboard Connection Radio, and now Go GTS Live. You know, recently there's just been an explosion of hobby podcasts, myself included, a couple years ago, almost 2 years ago, and even more so current day. Just kind of from someone who's been in the social media aspect of the hobby for a long time, kind of your thoughts on the recent explosion of it.
Well, I think, number one, it's refreshing to see a lot of people using their voice to add commentary and content in the hobby. You know, everybody's got a different opinion about whether it be specific products, how third-party services handle things, or whatnot. And I think there's plenty of room for everybody, and I've really appreciated the camaraderie, support, and community that's developed between the various podcasts. And it's been encouraging to see people respond positively to each and every one of them. You know, I've been particularly proud of even our young friend, Brody the Kid, starting his own called Hobby Life. So it's really exciting to see. And I've also been happy to see that there's been a new effort for a call-in show that you're involved in. And so I think it's been just an absolute pleasure to see, you know, how people are utilizing their own voice and the community that's developed in social media, especially now that we're all kind of shut in. And it was easy to take for granted the aspect of community online that we've developed over the years collectively in this thing we call #TheHobby. But it's been even more important now than ever before as a means to stay connected and help people stay positive and continue to be involved in their collections. And so it's certainly one of the benefits of the modern age of digital media, and social has been an extremely important part, and I think growing the hobby and getting new people involved.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head, and you know, I appreciate you mentioned Hobby Hotline, which is sort of, truth be told, sort of a play off Cardboard Connection and trying to fill that void, which it's not going to be the same, and I'm not going to, you know, go and say that. But if we can fill even part of that void in some capacity, you know, we're doing all right, I suppose. And you mentioned Brody the Kid. Brody's been on this show twice, and I'm glad you mentioned him. 12 years old now, and to think what he's doing, Rob, at 12, you know, I was shy. I didn't want to raise my hand in class and like have to answer a question, and he's in front of the camera, and is a great advocate of this hobby for the kids, not just the kids, but especially the kids. And that's something, you know, near and dear to my heart, starting as a young kid in the hobby, to see someone that age. Like I said, at 12, if you told me I had to do what he's doing, I'd run the other way, go in my room and close the door. And I was, believe it or not, a pretty shy kid. So kudos to him. Just incredible stuff that he does.
Yeah, the future's wide open for him. I mean, you know, I started content development, you know, on a blog and writing for Card Corner Club, and little did I know I'd eventually be the director of one of the, you know, major distributors in the hobby. But when you're 12 years old and already that confident in your capabilities in front of a camera and are knowledgeable about the hobby and products, you know, that kid can write his own ticket, make his own future, because he's going to have a ton of experience behind him when he hits 18. You know,
yeah, I mean? He's going to be a veteran at 18. So,
right?
he's going to be almost a double-digit veteran when he hits 18. And, you can see his passion for it, and I'm happy for him, and his parents do a good job with, balancing out being a kid and having a social media presence at the same time. And, that's more than just a one-kid operation, but he's right at the forefront of it. And like I said, at 12 years old, that's just, hats off to him.
Yeah, his parents, Sherry and Dennis, are great people. They've been extremely supportive, and I've talked to them periodically about the project that he's been involved in with the hobby life, and it's just encouraging to see that his parents are supportive, because let's face it, we live in a day and age where there's a lot of absentee parentism going on, and shows that when you have that support, anything's possible.
Yep, no doubt. Now, you mentioned what's going on with the pandemic, COVID-19. I'd be remiss. Number one, how are you? Hopefully good.
Yeah, everybody in my family here is healthy. I have, I'm diabetic, so I'm in a, what do they call that? I don't know. I have an increased
higher risk.
Whatever. So my wife has been the one to be going out if need be, and she's been extremely helpful. And it's a different world having your kids at home doing school and whatnot. I'm used to it. I work from home, so it's just a little bit noisier than it used to be. But thank the Lord, we're all healthy and ready to get things back to normal as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and hopefully, we do get back to some sort of normalcy. If you read some or heard some of the recent things, some of the numbers are trending like that. But then Robbie, you listen to two different programs and you get kind of two different reports. So it's really sometimes hard to even gauge where we are. But hobby wise, and hobby wise, I mean, it's unprecedented. We have some products that are not going to get distributed on time, or we don't know when. That's never really happened on this level before. But the hobby's still doing really well. I think some of that is due to how strong it was before the pandemic hit. Just some of your thoughts as someone who has their finger on the pulse of the hobby of just the pandemic with the hobby aspect.
Well, the good news is that all indicators point to graphic converting in Texas opening back up. As those of you who know or may not know, graphic converting is the printing and packaging utilized exclusively by Panini and in part by Topps.
Yeah.
So all of Panini's products were put on, the release dates were put on hold, but we're starting to have internal conversations with them of projected release dates. And one of the things that people have been speculating online about is, will there be a glut of products dumped into the market all at once? And we don't envision that being the case. I think that Panini will be prudent in playing catch up. And fortunately, we haven't. They weren't locked down for so long as to be, a quarter behind or anything like that. It's just a month. So you look at the products that have been delayed, and they'll be able to get those out relatively quickly. And with the plant opening back up, I think we'll have a more normal schedule here to look at as far as a release calendar in the next couple of weeks. So with May 1st right around the corner, we're all keeping our fingers crossed and hopeful that things can return back to normal down there. I know people are really bummed about the delay of Bowman. No specific release date on that yet. So we're still in a wait-and-see pattern on that. But I think as far as the current state of the hobby, I mean, you're right. A lot of it rides on the fact that it was strong going into this. So now what happens, you have a whole bunch of people that have a lot more time on their hands to enjoy the hobby, to make purchases, to get involved in breaks. And I think that a lot of the momentum that you're seeing has been derived from that. So our poll question for this week was, what do you expect to happen to secondary market values if sports don't start playing before the end of the year? And overwhelmingly, the majority of people think that they're going to stay consistent or even increase a bit, for the simple reason being that, for a lot of people, this is replacing sports. It's replacing, dare we say, gambling for higher end collectors that participate in that type of activity in the hobby. And so it's kind of business as usual, except for a few bumps in the road. So fortunately, it hasn't been as disastrous as some pundits had predicted. But I think ultimately it'll mirror in the long run how the overall economy does once we get back open and back to business. People don't have money, discretionary income. What are the first things that usually go? Entertainment budget, no eating out, no hobbies, and that sort of thing. Fortunately, we haven't seen that too bad yet. I'm really hopeful and keeping my thoughts and prayers for the small business card shop owners that have been slow to adapt to changes like curbside pickup, delivery, things like that. So just hoping with the general lack of, card shops than there used to be, that the ones that are out there can maintain through this. So that's my hope.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment as a former card store owner myself years ago. They got a soft place in my heart. Like you mentioned and alluded to, there's a lot less now than when I had mine, which was 92, 96 through 96. And you hope, like you said, you hope they can hang on, scratch and claw, and kind of be still there when the smoke kind of clears. And some, obviously some will, and unfortunately probably a few won't. And, that doesn't mean they can't, get back on the horse at some point as well and kind of, dust themselves off, recoup, and then do it again, So hopefully that's the case. Yep, go ahead.
Circling back to that idea about community, one of the greatest things I saw through this whole thing was Sports Collectors Daily initiative to put a directory together of shops who have some sort of online presence where there's a purchasing capacity, whether that's Facebook, a website, eBay store listings, things of that nature. And I think that just kind of reiterates that everybody knows we're all in this together, and I've been really encouraged by people stepping up and providing a platform for those store owners to be able to get the word out to people that they're in business, they have stuff available, and so if things like that can continue while we're waiting to open the doors, I think we'll be okay in the long run.
Yep, nope, great point. And like you said, SCD doing that, being an advocate and thinking, outside the box, so to speak, is good to see, like you just said. And it's crazy to, you're going back to your poll question too. I wanted to put my 2 cents in if I could. I think the point there too, I think people aren't, we're going to have sports again, Rob. It's not so much if as just when. So I don't think people are panicking like we're never going to have basketball or hockey or baseball again. It's just when. I think most people in the hobby are in it for the long haul, which is why I think your poll results trended that way. I think it just, and like you said, now there's without sports on TV or sports in general, we have some of that downtime to acquire cards or organize collections and get everything streamlined and be ready for when they take the field or the ice again or the court. And we'll be right back, at least hobby-wise, we'll be right back probably where we were before. Economy, that's a whole nother show. This is a hobby show, not a political or economics one. But you mentioned a term that I've used on this show plenty of times, discretionary income. That's where the danger lies hobby-wise, is when you don't have that in the same capacity you did before, and you have to make those decisions. Do I buy that box of card, or do I go grocery shopping, pay my electric bill, those sort of things. And if it comes down to that, obviously whether we're a hobby podcast or not, I know you'll agree is, we would tell anyone, take care of your family and your bills first. The hobby's going to be here for the long haul. It's been here over 100 years. It'll still be here. When things, when income wise, you're back into that market again. And so, I know Eric Norton was on a few weeks back, and that was a point he made to people listening is, the hobby's going to be here. Take care of your family and your priorities first, and and then come back when you can, if that's the choice you're faced with,
Absolutely. Talking about an absence of sports, I'm a huge hockey fan, and so I'm really missing the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. And my daughter's a pretty big hockey fan as well, so we've been playing tons of NHL on Xbox. I think sometimes just to hear the commentary and the play-by-play because we miss it so bad.
Yeah, it's that, and I mean, look, they're in Major League Baseball, the actual players are playing PlayStation or Xbox Major League Baseball in almost like a league fashion, and it's just kind of fun to see some of the things that some of the sports have kind of pivoted to in the meantime, even with the draft, the NFL draft, which is going on right now. Roger Goodell doing it from his basement and having a sense of, whether you like the guy or you don't, you got to give him this much credit. He's having fun. He traditionally gets booed, and he even he had artificial booze in his basement. What I was hoping for was that his wife opened the door upstairs and said, "Roger, it's time for dinner. Let's go." But no such luck. But each league it seems to doing the best they can with the current times, and it's good to see that they're still trying to do something, stay kind of in view, and just be ready for when they can resume and actually play games. And like I said, they will, and I think that's why with with the GTS poll question, I think that's why people are not panicking as far as hobby wise or value wise, if you will. They know it's going to come back. It's just when, and it gives you opportunities. I've said on this show there have been some sales, people selling stuff maybe a little bit lower than traditionally, just to generate some income. So if you're in that market where you have some of that discretionary income, it's also a good opportunity to get a few deals here and there, and keep the any transaction that's made hobby wise is keeping the hobby going and fluid, and so that's always important as well.
Yeah, I know everybody's anxious to hear that Check Out My Cards is back at full capacity. I know that's been a little bit frustrating for people waiting on stuff that they send in to get processed, and poor PSA. I mean, they were up to their eyeballs and behind on submissions before this. I can't imagine.
And then others, like SGC taking advantage, the smart business kind of, taking advantage of being full strength, and you can't blame them there either. And, I believe, you have the three companies, and when two are not full capacity and one is, that one is going to kind of seize the moment, as they say. And we'll be back with more Rob Bertrand after this quick commercial break. So I wanted to talk about a new marketplace that is about to hit the sports card scene, and it's called StarStock. StarStock is building a sports card marketplace aimed to be faster and cheaper for flipping sports cards than any other platform. This is a ground level moment in the hobby, and StarStock is currently looking for people who want to be the first to sell their cards at launch of this new platform. It's due to launch in April this year, and here's what StarStock is offering you. 5% commission, no ingestion fees. You send in your cards, they do all the work and post them up for you. Cards are guaranteed and secured in their vault. Cards need to remain in the vault for trading. You can choose to ship your cards back at any time you'd like. StarStock will be a flipper's paradise. You can buy, flip, store, or ship cards with the click of a button. StarStock is only looking for sellers with rookie cards and or prospect cards of current players. For more details, that email again is mike@starstock.com. Or you can follow them on Instagram at Star Stock Market, all one word. That's at Star Stock Market. Now, enough pandemic, hopefully, like you brought up, I think we're turning a corner there, hopefully. You've done this a long time like me. I'm curious, I had to ask this question. You ever get, doing it so long, you ever get, like, burned out or like, hey, I don't want to do any kind of hobby stuff for today or the next week? You ever, at this stage, do you ever get to that or not really?
You know what? I'm very blessed in the sense that I have, quote, a job that I love. So You know what they say about that. If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So one of the frustrations that I've been dealing with, though, is I lost my marketing coordinator before this, and the person that I had planned to bring on to replace them, the hiring of that person got tied up because of this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
So I've been having to take on some additional stuff that I wouldn't. So in that sense, I'm a little more stressed and a little bit more tired than I would normally be. But at the end of the day, I'm still very blessed to do something I love. How that transitions to my personal life with the hobby, there are weeks where, it comes the weekend, I've had enough and, I don't do anything with my collection. But then there's been plenty of other times, especially during this, where, the kids aren't now doing their own thing, that we're all kind of, stuck inside, obviously, where, I've been putting together my next order for CompC or collating or paging sets and this, that, and the other thing. And bottom line is I still love it, and I still feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to do something that I love every day. I remember several years ago, I'd lost a job, and my wife, I was really frustrated. My wife's like, well, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, I just want to produce content for trading cards.
Yeah.
She's like, well, figure it out. And so just continued to take a labor of love and find ways to generate income with it. And fortunately, it got me noticed to the point that, I was given a full-time job opportunity. And so I tell my boss and the owner of our company whenever I can that I'm very fortunate and very privileged to be able to do what I do week in and week out. So
yeah, no doubt. And like you said, that's how I am almost 40 years in, and I've wore a lot of different hats: store owner, collector, dealer, online, show circuit. I've done almost everything as far as hobby-wise, and now content creation on top of that. There are moments where, even the reason I ask you that is because I think we all have a moment, maybe some more than others, but, sometimes I'll just say, today I'm not doing anything card-related wise or podcast, just going to do something else and kind of step away just for even a day or 2 days or what have you. And I think that's...
Absolutely. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to, because number one, you got to catch your breath. Number two, you got to maintain your passion. Even, we take off a couple weeks here and there at times for the show. At the end of the year, we usually take 2 or 3 weeks off during the holidays, above and beyond the fact that I have to travel for a couple shows, and those are on or conventions or distributor meetings, and have to take off for that. Every once in a while, I'll just let Ivan know, hey, we're going to take next week off. Yeah. It's not because I don't like to do the show. It's because, you know what? Just need a little hiatus.
Yeah, decompress.
Catch my breath. Yeah, exactly. And what ends up happening is I come back with, a renewed passion and vigor and ready to rock and roll. So it's perfectly healthy and natural to feel that way at times. So.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear. I respect, with your experience. That's why I asked you that. I was just curious, your thoughts and stuff on that as well. And speaking of your experience, I asked this question to any of my guests that are very experienced in the hobby, kind of sort of a hot seat question, not really. If there was a hobby magic wand and you could change just kind of one thing, your choice, what would it be and maybe why?
I think redemptions would be too easy of an answer.
Yeah, but it still counts. But go ahead.
If there was one magic wand I would like to see, I'm always encouraged when cards without autographs and without memorabilia have strong secondary market value. I love the way Upper Deck does Young Guns.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be great if paper Bowman cards had the same kind of love, demand, and appeal that Young Guns do? So those are some things that I think about if I had a magic wand. I would love to see more cards without autos and memorabilia or serial numbered less than 10 have secondary market value.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good answer, and I think it's getting a little bit better. I mean, it's not. I don't like piggybacking off what you said. It's not where we'd probably both like it to be, but it's trending a little bit more that way than ever before. Base cards, if you will, and I think some of that is the fever with Topps update and the Trout and what's going to be the next one, and the Acuna with the
Panini Silver Prisms in basketball.
Yep. So I think
that's been unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's getting there, Rob. I'll agree with you, though. I think it's definitely got some more ceiling there to hit, and hopefully it continues to be more of that. And, I get it. Listen, when we open, whether it's me or you or anyone else is opening packs or a box, sure, we want the best card we can pull. That's just human nature. But, I also like you just mentioned, just pulling a pretty good rookie, even if it's a base card, I still enjoy that. And I know you do as well, which is why you said that. Yep. And I think more people are. I think it's going that way. It's just going to probably take a little bit longer than me or you would have take. But, it's nice to have the hits. I get it. And that's traditionally, what people want, but at the same time, don't sleep on that other stuff. And I'm in accordance with you. A good answer there.
Yeah, I think the success of the Panini Silver Prisms has been something that is indicative of that growth, as well as I think Select Football is starting to get some love like that. And so, it's definitely good to see brands break out and have cards like that that can carry their own weight without that. And I think it's something that the card companies are conscious of. Yeah. And it's just, it's not an easy task, and that's why it would take a magic wand fully. But it's good to see.
Yeah. And, you mentioned the Prism product, you always have Optic, which I actually like Optic a lot. And there was always
I love Optic.
Yeah, and there was always sort of a gap between those two products. And I think, I don't know, I'll get your 2 cents too, Rob. That gap is closed pretty significantly. I mean, sure, Prism is still at the forefront, but the difference, if this was a race, it's a lot closer of a race than it's ever been between those two products that I've seen lately.
I think your description of closing the gap is right on. In fact, for me, Optic passed Prism a little while ago.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that brand. I think it's just dynamic, and the cards are great, the content's great, and I think it's to the point where there was a gap, and now that gap is either smaller or not there, depending on where your personal preference lies, as far as secondary market value, content delivery, configuration. All that's being equal. Now it's a matter of preference, and so I think you're starting to see that play out in the secondary market.
Yeah, and that's between the two products, I'm with you. Aesthetically, I like the Optic better. They're both obviously chrome cards, so that's a push as far as what they're made of. And then to me, it just aesthetically, I like the Optic better. And like you said, even secondary market wise, that's kind of closed up that gap if there was one, is kind of closed. And so now I think it really becomes up to the individual hobbyist that says I'm an Optic guy, I'm a Prism guy, I like both, so I'm doing both. So it's interesting to see over time how certain trends and opinions can change the market, and that's what makes the hobby so fun to watch and so fun to be part of it.
Agreed. Absolutely.
So let's, we're coming down the stretch here. Let me talk about go GTS. You guys do a great job. We give a ton of stuff away on this show. I think not to brag, you might be the only show that gives more away than we do. I love that. Everything you open up, you pretty much reciprocate to the listeners, and you can't beat that, and that's what it's about. Kind of talk about, most of us know what Go GTS Live is now. Kind of talk about maybe a little bit of the history, how, for those that don't know, how that kind of came together and what we see today.
Well, at one point towards the end of Cardboard Connection Radio, we had plans to convert it over to a video show and sell the rights to GTS distribution, and we're going to be paid by GTS to still host and produce the show. I had a bit of a falling out with one of my friends and business partners, as can happen, and as fortunate as that was, it was just everything happens for a reason. So I knew that the visual element of trading cards was something that needed to be captured and best used to promote newer products. And so, every show out there has their own niche, and I think one of the niches of Go GTS Live is we get people excited about new product.
Yeah.
And so whether that's talking about what's releasing next week, taking a look through live box breaks of this week or more recent releases, that was something that I had this vision for. And when I was brought on full time at GTS as a marketing manager, the plan was to then move forward with the show. And so now, this is our 5th year, I think. We've got 165 episodes under our belt.
Yeah.
And it's I've been very happy with the growth, the reception, and the absolute passion that people have for the show. The number of people that watch it on their big screen TVs, miss it when it's not there, email us after the show, or on social media, just appreciating what we do. It's been personally rewarding to see that, but at the same time, I think it's also filled a niche that was important.
Yep.
And being a distributor and having access to the manufacturers and the buy-in of the majority of all of them to provide us with product was really key. So that's why we're more than happy to, I love giving stuff away.
Yeah.
So when I go to the Upper Deck Conference or the Tops Conference, any swag that we get, I'm usually on the lookout for who doesn't want theirs and bringing it back to make sure I can give away on the show. So it's been a fun ride, and I look forward to doing it for several more years. But at some point, I'm going to have to hand the torch over to somebody else, and who that ends up being.
Well, hopefully that's later than.
For the meantime,
hopefully later than sooner.
Yeah, it's still me.
Yeah.
So no plans in the near future. So as long as I still love doing it, I'll do it.
Yeah, and you and Ivan do. You don't need me to tell you this, but I will anyway. You and Ivan do a great job, and you can see that passion on both of your parts. That you love doing that and bringing that content and giving that stuff away, and that comes shining through. I think that's very apparent, and that stuff to me is kind of contagious. I think. Hobby love like that. I think people catch it and roll with it and then pay it forward, even themselves. And that's always a hobby positive. And so, you guys do a tremendous job there. And, Thursdays, I try to catch it. I'm not going to lie. I catch it most of the time, probably 2 out of 3. I'm doing sometimes even with the show, some last minute editing, and it makes me run late. And I don't always catch it, but I say I'm probably batting about 75%. So if that was a baseball average, that would be pretty good. I
appreciate it.
If that was a baseball average, I'd be doing pretty good. So, all right, one real tough question. Tiger King, yes or no?
Oh, I even had to ask Ivan what that was, so I'm going to say no.
Good job by you. Yeah, I haven't watched. I know there's memes all over the place, and a buddy of mine watched it. I asked him, give me. I'm not going to watch this thing, but give me kind of the synopsis just so I know what I'm not watching. And after hearing the synopsis, it made my decision a lot even easier. And I'm like, okay, I'm definitely out.
Yeah,
so
I'm with you. Definitely.
So good job by us, if I may be so bold to pat us both on the back. So, Rob, I want to thank you. Someone's been in the hobby a long time myself. Thank you, for everything you do, for being a great promoter and advocate of the hobby that we both love and are passionate about. Thank you for giving the show some time today. I always give the guests here the kind of the last word. Give out any kind of where they can reach you, find Go GTS Live, anything you want to get out there for those listening.
Well, I encourage anyone who's not a subscriber on Twitch to do so. You can subscribe for free if you're an Amazon Prime member. And in doing so, it really helps us offset a little bit of the postage cost of mailing out all the prizes that we mail out, which we greatly appreciate. And we then provide some exclusive content to our Twitch subscribers. So anybody who has the means to do that hasn't already, we'd love if you would. Just go to Twitch at twitch.tv/GoGTS Live and subscribe through your Amazon Prime membership. And that's it.
All right. Well, yep. I'll be watching like I do. Like I said, 3 out of 4 times. Again, Rob, I appreciate you coming on, and I don't have to tell you this, but keep doing what you're doing, man. It's awesome stuff.
It's my privilege being on the show. Thank you for having me. Thank you for what you do for the hobby, and you keep it up as well.
I appreciate that. Coming from you, that even means all the more. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks, John.
You're welcome. Pastime Marketplace offers a line of durable graded card cases made for collectors who want high-quality graded card storage that is virtually indestructible. Their cases are waterproof, dustproof, airtight, and designed to protect your valuable collection. Check them all out at www.pastimemarketplace.com. Protect your best with the best. Rookie! Two interesting subjects today on Rookie Rollercoaster. We have a football card and we have a basketball card. And these two cards, I was quite shocked at the movement from January here till late April of these cards. Both are retired players, so they're obviously not even current players, and the movement is indicative of what we're seeing right now in the market. Graded cards 9 and up have increased, even with everything going on. I don't really have a great explanation for it. Just that the demand has increased and people are willing to pay for slab 9s and up. I mean, it's not one of the cards in today's feature, but a Griffey 9 jumped literally, seems like overnight, significantly. Almost like doubled on price. And so a lot of other cards, similar ilk, have went up. And I was surprised when I really researched these two cards that we're going to talk about here, of how far they've jumped in a matter of 4 months. So let's start with the 1989 score Barry Sanders rookie. Obviously, Barry, a Hall of Famer, retired. In January, his raw rookies were going for $18. And today, here in late April, his raw rookies are going for $40. So, double the price now. Let's go back to January for PSA 10 versions of that score Barry. In January they were $300, and now a PSA 10 Barry you're gonna have to fork over about $750. So they more than doubled the PSA 10s. And so Wax 89 score Wax has went up substantially. I remember when you could get boxes of that fairly reasonable, and forget about it now. I think they're going for about 800 something bucks a box. It's just amazing where the market has went, even with everything going on. So as far as buying berries, or if it's what I would do right now, I'd probably sell, honestly. I think there's a lot of 1989 scores out there. I can't see them going up significantly more. And football, as much as it pains me to say, being a football guy, probably the third most popular sport hobby-wise. Not overall-wise. I think it's the number one fan sport. But in the hobby, I think it's number 3. So right now, berries are at the highest ceiling they've ever been. And so if you're sitting on some, now might be the time to move them, in my opinion. So let's go across to the other card here. The 1988-89 Fleer, Scottie Pippen rookie. And obviously there's some ripple effect from the Last Dance being on the air. But let's go back to February. Actually mid-February. A raw Pippen would cost you about $15 right now. 3 times that at $45, and they're selling very easy. So I think that number goes even higher as the Last Dance continues to air on Sunday nights. In February, a PSA 8 would have cost you only $45, very reasonable. And now a PSA 8 average price, only a few months later, is, you ready for this? $325. That, you heard me right. $325 for a PSA 8. Now, some of that is due to the 88, 89 Fleers are notorious for centering issues and other issues, and condition sensitive and all that. But just think, 2 months ago, a $45 card now is a $325 card. And so doing some quick math here, almost 8 times the price of what it was 2 months ago. And believe it or not, it may even go up further. So if you're asking me, buy, sell, or hold, that sort of deal, if you can get in quickly here and get them at a little cheaper level, you might have some room in a few weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, to go ahead and turn around and flip them for more money as the Last Dance progresses. I would say also selling, you can't go wrong either. They're selling quick, number one, and if you're into them cheap, where you didn't buy them recently, you kind of been sitting on them. Now's a chance really to cash out potentially and make some money. So 2 cards I was quite shocked to see the difference in them just mere months ago. I really am. And I've done this a long time, but things still amaze me sometimes. And these 2 cards is the reason I picked them for this month's Rookie Rollercoaster segment, is just a significant jump in a few months' time, and they're only a couple examples. There's many other cards that the same way, and cards graded 9 and higher are really have made significant jumps on the secondary market. So keep an eye out. Let me tell you about Iron Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're your number one source for all your PSA grading submission needs. They're constantly submitting, so they are always at the ready when you're ready. They offer various turnaround levels at the lowest prices around. Cards are insured to and from PSA at no additional cost to you. And they even provide the card savers your precious cards need to be put in before being sent to PSA. They take care of that for you. And because of their elite status at PSA, they have some of the best turnaround times around. They even have group chats for each submission, so you know exactly where your status is on your cards. They have open dialogue and open communication. What are you waiting for? Contact Rob on Facebook on Iron Sports Card Group. That's Iron Sports Card Group on Facebook. Or get a hold of Rob on Twitter at Iron Sports Cards. All one word, at Iron Sports Cards. They'll take care of you.
John, you seem like an astute man.
Thank you, Mr. Walken.
Maybe you can help explain something to me.
Well, I'll give it my best shot. Time for the part of the show where I take a question that I get asked privately and I answer it on the show publicly. And so this question is sort of a twofold question I got from somebody. And basically they asked me, number one, do I think baseball will get on the field this year? And number two, long term, they asked who's a better to stock up cards-wise, Fernando Tatis Jr. or Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So let me start with in order. Will baseball take the field in 2020? I think they will. I think the season will be shortened. I don't think they're going to be played in front of crowds. I think there's going to be empty stadiums. I don't think it's going to be ideal. It's not going to be the same. I don't know if they're going to alter the divisions like they talked about. But I think they'll play a sort of a shortened season reminiscent of the 81 strike season. And I almost wish, as much as I wish they were playing, I almost wish they waited till they could play a full season in front of people, regular divisions, regular schedule like normal. But I don't think anyone wants to wait a whole year. They didn't even start, so they don't want to lose a whole year. So I got a feeling we're going to get baseball in shortened form with some weird parameters that we're not used to seeing. Maybe games in a few different parks, maybe and no fans and that sort of thing. So we'll see how that all progresses. Now on to the second part of that question, the Tatis Jr. versus Vladdy Jr. I think they're both going to be, should have solid careers. I kind of like Tatis Jr. when you look at overall game and defense and offense and better conditioning, if you will. I know we really bag on Vlad Jr. and for that. And so, but I like Tatis Jr. He plays, shortstop, a glamorous position, can hit for power, hit for average. I think, Machado's there, but getting older. I think very soon, if not already, Tatis Jr. is going to be the face of that West Coast franchise. So, not by much, a very close call, and I don't think you can really go wrong either way, but I'm going to go Tatis Jr. over Vlad Jr., and we'll get some sort of baseball, but in what capacity, I don't know, but it won't be in what we thought it would be before everything hit, obviously. So. One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like One of One. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter at SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap for episode 74 of the Sports Card Nation podcast. First off, I want to thank you for giving us your time and listening in to the show, whether it be this week or any or all the weeks you've listened in. Without you guys, we have no show. A special shout out and thank you to Rob Bertrand from Go GTS and Go GTS Live for being our guest this week. Rob brings a tremendous amount of experience and is an asset for this hobby. Glad he gave some time to the show. Hope you enjoyed the interview with him. Like I said during the interview, if there's anyone that has their finger on the pulse of the hobby, Rob's right there. And so glad he got to share some of that with the show and with you, the listener out there. So that's it for this week. I hope, as we, little COVID-19 news, it looks like certain things are starting to open up, and hopefully we're getting back to being, a full go or a lot closer than we were as things start to, go back. I don't want to say go back to normal. I think we may have a new normal, but we get some sort of normalcy back. People may be returning to jobs, the economy picking up. That's only going to bode well for the hobby as that happens. And as humans, that's what we hope. And so hopefully that's the direction we're going. Each day I watch the news, they talk a little bit more about vaccines or medications that are becoming fruitful against the coronavirus, and so we're moving in the right direction. Maybe not as fast as we all might like per se, but or at least we're going in the right direction. And so it's hang in there, help each other out if you can. I know all the social distancing, but if you have a neighbor that maybe can't fend for themselves as well as you, maybe leave a meal on that front doorstep, ring the bell, help them out, mow a lawn. I mean, little things that you can do can go a long way. And, again, I know we can't get always close as to people as we like, but we can still help them out and do things. And makes you feel good, and it's good for you. So, I hope everyone's trying to do that. Be good to each other. Just in general. So, couple programming notes. If you like the show, hopefully you do. We do appreciate positive reviews on any of the podcast platforms, Apple, iTunes, or the like. Rate us. We like 5 stars, but whatever you feel, it's voice your choice. So go to those platforms. Let us know what you think of the show. Those reviews help others determine whether they want to listen to the show. They're free. We don't ask for money. The only thing we would love, if you love the show, go ahead and let other people know. Best advertising is free advertising. So another programming note, every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, all our podcast hosts here got together to form Hobby Hotline. You heard Rob mention that also during his interview. It's a live call-in hobby podcast every Saturday morning, like I said, and with rotating hosts, and the show's for you. You set the tone, you ask the questions, you set the content, and you're the director. And call in, no matter who's on, whether it's me or not. We love to have you call in and banter with us, and whether you agree with something we said or we disagree with something we said, let us know, and come on that program and share the screen with us, if you will. So that show's doing very well as well, and glad to be a part of it with those guys to boot. So a lot of fun. All right, folks. So that being said, again, thank you. Thank everybody. We'll see you in a week.